Connor Murphy died because he misunderstood alchemy. Now, what do I mean? So, he was injecting gold into his veins simply because he misunderstood the entire idea of the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone, it's always represented as this red or pink kind of gemstone. And the reason why is because it's supposed to look like the pineal gland, because it's a biological computer that's in your mind. And the way you turn lead into gold, you turn the flesh into spirit, is not through injecting literal elemental AG gold into your veins. It's through cultivating a curiosity, childlike state of internal perception. This goes back to the story in the Bible of the 5 wise virgins, and those are the 5 sensory perceptions. You want your senses to always be stimulated with a kind of novelty, so you don't have a prejudice, so that you can experience and observe completely dispassionately. And so, this relates back to the entire fall of the Egyptian society, when the kings started declaring themselves as deities and sun kings. They started injecting that philosophical gold into their bloodstream. And so that's what led to the downfall of the society that made the pyramids and discovered geometry. So if you take anything away from this, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of introspection, a little bit of reaching into a place of unknown and epistemological uncertainty will save you from injecting gold into your veins. That way you can inject philosophical gold and turn your body not into a tombstone, but into a temple of God. The Holy Guardian Angel is a scam. It's actually Choronzon. Now, what do I mean? Well, you see a lot of these people saying, oh, it's too dangerous to cross the abyss. Oh, you need 10 years of preparation. My name's Georgina Rose. I have a darling brand. Just kidding. I love Georgina Rose's content. But crossing the abyss is not something that you need to spend your entire life pursuing. It's something you can do in a weekend afternoon. And why do I say that? Well, it's because if you understood Crowley and you understood Thelema, you'd realize that in the Book of Lies, chapter 69, the only way to succeed is to succeed. And that's a very, very advanced teaching for crossing the abyss. But what it really comes down to is just recognizing when the Holy Guardian Angel, your knowledge and conversation, when that translates from being the true will into Choronzon, which is like Saturn and the demon of time, you ping pong between the solar consciousness and the Saturnian consciousness. And recognizing that dichotomy and ping ponging between them correctly will keep you doing the great work, which is just orienting yourself towards the sun and avoiding Saturn. So, quick gatekeeping, the Holy Guardian Angel, it's actually just Choronzon in drag most of the time. But that's important because anathema lets you translate that back into the sun. A little bit of a side tangent on the HGA work. So the reason why meditation and other kind of yogas, whether it be mental yoga or physical yoga or bhakti, raja, karma yoga, any sort of tantra yoga, any sort of yoga, is designed to wire your brain to access that biological computer, that philosopher's stone that you have in the pineal gland. It's to uninhibit the nervous system to let it function properly. And the reason why they say you need 10 years of work is to build up that brain, that nervous system configuration, so that you don't get stuck in any groove thinking that you've found the absolute truth. Read the Book of Lies, the first chapter, the hunchback and the soldier, the exclamation mark and the question mark. You ping pong between them all the time. And so yoga, meditation, practice, ritual work, all that can be done inside your head to build the neuroplasticity that you need to not get stuck worshiping only the Saturn or only the sun. And that's the secret in the first few chapters of the Book of Lies. Numbers 23:19. God is not man. All right, now, what does that mean? God is not man. How can God not be man? Now, I'm going to refer to another video I did where I said Jesus never said that he was the Son of God. Well, because the words that he spoke in Greek or whatever language he was speaking, Aramaic, didn't actually have the words to be. Now, same thing is happening here. God is not man. When you translate Hebrew, Greek, Latin into English, and you use the copula, the word to be, is, there's an is of identification, and there's an is of predication. We use the same word in English to mean both is for the identity of the thing and is for the predication or the existence of the thing. For example, that is exercise equipment. That yoga mat is also exercise equipment. But that is not that, right? They are the same thing. They're the same identity. They're exercise equipment. But that obviously is not a yoga mat. Same thing. God is not a man, but God also dwells in all man, and God is the substance that everything exists in. So the problem isn't with God. The problem is with the way we communicate God. And that is elaborated on my previous video. So go ahead and watch that. Watch it on YouTube too. Nor does he change his mind, nor does he lie. So, same thing. Truth is always predicated by context. When you say the sky is blue, well, for me it might not be because it might be dark outside. For me, even if the sky is blue, I could be colorblind. So, saying things using the word is wraps in a lot of context. It wraps in a lot of things that we call relative truths. Truth is not a binary. Truth is not a yes or a no. Truth exists on a probabilistic scale. Physics likes to call that a wave function. You can't describe where an electron or where any of these little particles are because they don't actually exist until you try to throw something else at them and then it bounces back. It exists in a probability of places. Same thing with truth. Truth is determined by where you are relative to the person asserting it. Anyone who says they've found the absolute truth is not telling the whole truth. Because truth depends completely on your perspective. You may have a truth, but you do not have the truth, because the truth doesn't exactly exist the way you think it does. A man who's absolutely certain is much more dangerous than someone who listens to the voice of reason. That's why the book of John starts with, "In the beginning there was the Word was with him, and the Word was him." Many Christians nowadays completely sidestep the entire concept of Christ Logos. What is Logos? What is rationality? What is the principle of reason? Why is it better to be rational than not? Many people just wrap that up into saying, well, it's just God's love, it's a mystery, blah, blah, blah. But Christ came to bring reason to the world. He came to bring a sword
that cuts through irrationality and allows God's wisdom to be known through the many lenses that all may be true, but all may have their own kind of truth. The Kabbalah tells you 10 different ways to contemplate truth, and they all require crossing through Daath, or through death, because truth can really only be understood the same way beauty can be understood. Beautiful things are only ever beautiful because one day they won't be. Same thing with truth. Truth is only true because one day there's something that it might not be true to be held against. Silence. The sweetest.